Hey, I'm Emma. Welcome to Revenge Pulse, where every story hits different. Hit subscribe and let's dive in. The turkey sat golden and perfect in the center of Aunt Susan's dining table, surrounded by 15 side dishes and enough desserts to feed 40 people. 22 of us had gathered for Thanksgiving 2024. Aunts, uncles, cousins, my parents, and my sister Vanessa with her boyfriend Tyler. I'd brought a $75 bottle of Pinot Noir and homemade pumpkin cheesecake. Aunt Susan had kissed my cheek and said, "Oh, how nice," before immediately asking Vanessa about her new job at the marketing firm. "It's incredible," Vanessa gushed, flipping her hair. "I'm already working with major clients. The salary is amazing. I just bought the cutest boots Louboutin, obviously." Everyone ooped and Tyler squeezed her hand proudly. I knew exactly how much Vanessa made at her new job. $48,000 a year. I knew because she'd called me crying 2 months ago about how low the offer was, and I told her it was a good starting point in marketing. I also knew the Louboutin boots cost $1,195 because she sent me a photo with the caption, "Treat yourself." Right? What everyone at the table didn't know. I'd been paying Vanessa's car payment $427, car insurance $238, and 2 credit cards minimum payments totaling $675 for the past 61 months. 5 years and 1 month. $81,740 total, though she'd paid down some of the principal with occasional extra payments I'd sent. Her current debt that I was servicing, $47,200. I sat between Cousin Amy's toddler and Grandma Ruth, who kept patting my hand and asking if I was seeing anyone special. I told her about Ethan, my boyfriend of 8 months. She nodded vaguely and turned back to watching Vanessa describe her office's espresso machine. The meal began with Grandpa Tom's traditional toast to family, gratitude, and the people who make life worth living. We clinked glasses. I sipped water. I was driving back to Portland tonight. 4 hours alone in the car sounded better than spending the night in my childhood bedroom listening to Vanessa's stories through thin walls. The conversation flowed through predictable topics. Cousin Jake's promotion, Aunt Susan's kitchen renovation, Uncle Mike's new boat, Mom's garden. Everyone had updates, achievements, something worth celebrating. When there was a brief lull, I mentioned, I got accepted to speak at the Data Analytics Summit in March. It's one of the biggest conferences in my field. "That's nice, honey," Mom said, passing the cranberry sauce to Vanessa. "What's data analytics?" Tyler asked, not actually interested, already looking back at his phone. "I work with large data sets to identify patterns and help companies make strategic decisions," I said. It was my elevator pitch, rehearsed and professional. "Sounds boring," Vanessa said, laughing. "Thank God I went into something creative." A few people chuckled. The conversation moved on to Vanessa's office holiday party black tie, open bar, supposedly very exclusive. I took a bite of turkey. It was dry. I thought about the first time Vanessa had asked me for money, November 2019. She'd been 23, fresh out of college with a liberal arts degree and $34,000 in credit card debt from networking and building her brand. She'd been crying on my couch, mascara running, saying she was going to have to move back in with Mom and Dad. "I just need help with the minimum payments," she'd said, "just until I get a real job, 6 months, tops. Please, Claire, you're the only one who understands numbers." I was 26 at the time, 2 years into my job as a data analyst, making $68,000 a year. I'd been living in a studio apartment, meal prepping every Sunday, driving a 2008 Honda Civic with 140,000 miles. I'd agreed to cover her credit card minimums, $385 a month? Temporary. Then she'd gotten a car lease on a BMW 3 Series because image matters in marketing, and couldn't afford the payment. Could I help? Just until her commission checks started coming in. Then, the insurance had been more than she'd budgeted for. Then, she'd maxed out another credit card, furnishing her apartment, because I need a professional space for my Instagram content. Each request came with tears, with promises to pay me back, with assurances that this was the last time. 5 years later, I was still paying. The meal continued. sweet potatoes, green bean casserole, 3 types of stuffing. Everyone complimented Aunt Susan's cooking. Vanessa posted photos to Instagram, perfectly filtered, captioned grateful for this crazy family. She didn't tag me. She never did. Dessert appeared pies, cakes, my pumpkin cheesecake, that got 1 slice taken before everyone flocked to Aunt Susan's bourbon pecan pie. I watched my desserts sit there, mostly untouched, and felt a familiar ache. This was the pattern. I showed up. I brought thoughtful gifts. I helped when asked. I existed on the periphery of my own family, visible only when someone needed something. In high school, I'd been the studious one. Vanessa had been the popular one cheerleader, homecoming court, dating the quarterback. Mom had spent hours helping her pick dresses, do her makeup, plan parties. Dad had never missed her Friday night games. My academic awards had been met with, "That's great, honey. Can you help your sister with her math homework?" College had been the same. Vanessa had gone to a private liberal arts school, $45,000 a year, mostly covered by mom and dad. I'd gone to state school on a partial scholarship and worked 20 hours a week to cover the rest. When I'd graduated summa cum laude, the family dinner celebration had lasted 45 minutes before Dad had to leave for Vanessa's sorority parent weekend. I'd stopped expecting things to be different, but I'd never stopped hoping, somewhere deep down, that someone would notice I was trying. Grandpa Tom started telling stories about Thanksgivings past. Everyone laughed at the appropriate moments. Vanessa's phone buzzed repeatedly, texts from friends, Instagram notifications. She checked it constantly, smiling at her screen. My phone sat silent in my purse. Then Uncle Mike brought up the new boat again. Cost a pretty penny. But you only live once. Family was saying I should save more, be more conservative with money. But what's the point of working hard if you can't enjoy it? Exactly, Vanessa said. Life's too short to be cheap. Some people are just naturally more generous, Aunt Susan added. They understand that money is meant to be spent, meant to bring joy. Vanessa nodded enthusiastically. Right. Like, I believe in experiences over things. Well, some things. She laughed, touching her designer boots. But seriously, what's the point of having money if you're just going to hoard it? She wasn't looking at me. Not directly, but I felt the words land anyway. Some people are just stingy, Tyler said. My sisters? Like that? Makes 6 figures and still uses coupons. More laughter. Vanessa leaned forward, her voice getting louder. You know what's crazy? Some people make good money, like, really good money, and they act like they can't help out family. They'll spend it on themselves, on their own stuff. But when family needs something, nothing. The table had gotten quieter. People were listening now. I started. I'm not naming names, Vanessa continued, her cheeks flushed from wine, but it's just frustrating when you have family members who could help, who could make someone's life easier, and they just don't. They keep everything for themselves. Mom was nodding slowly. Dad was looking at his pie. My heart was pounding, but my hands were steady. Like, I'm just saying. Vanessa looked around the table, gathering momentum, gathering allies. Claire makes really good money. She's always talking about her job, her career, but when it comes to actually being there for family, actually being generous, she shook her head. Nothing. She's so selfish with her money, so cheap. The words hung in the air. 22 people, all looking at me now, some with pity, some with judgment, all with the understanding that Vanessa had just said something true and uncomfortable. Aunt Susan made a soft "oh" sound. Grandma Ruth patted my hands sympathetically, like I'd just been rightfully called out. Nobody defended me. Nobody said, that seems unfair. Nobody questioned Vanessa's assessment. They believed her. Of course they believed her, because I'd never told them the truth, because Vanessa had asked me not to, had said it would embarrass her, had said it was private between sisters. They believed her. I'd kept her secret for 5 years, and she'd just used that secret to humiliate me. I felt my phone in my pocket. Heavy, full of power. I recognized this pattern. This exact pattern. When Vanessa had wrecked Mom's car at 17, she'd somehow made it about how I always had to be perfect and made her feel inadequate. When she'd been fired from her first job for excessive tardiness, she'd complained at Sunday dinner that I was obsessed with rules and judged everyone. She'd built her life by making me the villain in her story. I pulled out my phone. The table watched me, probably expecting tears, an outburst, a defense. I opened my banking app. First, I found the automatic payment for Vanessa's BMW lease, $427 on the 28th of every month. I deleted the recurring payment. Then I canceled the upcoming payment scheduled for 6 days from now. Next, the car insurance. $238 on the 15th, deleted. Then the credit cards. Capital One, $390 minimum payment. Chase, $285 minimum payment. Both on autopay, both deleted. The whole process took 90 seconds. I looked up. Everyone was still watching me. "You're absolutely right, Vanessa," I said calmly. "I am selfish with my money. I should keep it for myself instead of giving it away to people who do you and appreciate it." Vanessa's eyebrows furrowed. "I'm just agreeing with you," I said, taking a sip of water. "You're right. I've been thinking about it, and you're completely right." Tyler looked confused. Mom looked concerned. Dad was still focused on his pie. Vanessa's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, probably another Instagram notification, and set it face down on the table. "I didn't mean," she started. "No, you did," I said pleasantly. "You meant it, and I'm taking your advice, starting now." I took a bite of pumpkin cheesecake. It was good. I'd done a great job on it. Vanessa's phone buzzed again. And again. She picked it up, frowning at the screen. Her face went pale. The table had started to move on, sensing the tension had passed. Grandpa Tom was asking Uncle Mike about winterizing the boat. Aunt Susan was offering coffee. Vanessa's phone was buzzing constantly now. Text after text. Notification after notification. She stood up abruptly. "Excuse me. I need to make a call." She left the dining room, Tyler trailing behind her, confused. I finished my cheesecake slowly, savoring every bite. 3 years earlier, January 2022. I'd just been promoted to senior data analyst with a $15,000 raise, bringing my salary to $83,000. I'd finally moved out of my studio into a one-bedroom apartment with actual closet space and a dishwasher. Small victories, but they'd felt enormous. Vanessa had called me at midnight on a Tuesday. "Claire, I messed up. I really messed up." "What happened?" "I maxed out my Chase card. The Capital One is almost maxed too. And I missed a car payment because I thought the lease company auto-drafted, but apparently I'd turned that off. I'm going to lose the car. They're threatening repossession." "Vanessa, how much are you spending every month?" "I don't know. Things just add up. Going out with coworkers, professional clothes, my apartment. Marketing is expensive. I need to look the part." "Can you make a budget?" "I've tried. I'm bad at it. Numbers aren't my thing." She was crying now. "Please, Claire. Can you help me organize it? Maybe take over some of the bills temporarily?" "You're so good at this stuff." I'd said yes. Again. But this time, I'd set it up differently. I'd taken over her car payment, insurance, and credit card minimums directly. Automatic payments from my account to her creditors. She didn't have to think about it. Didn't have to transfer money to me. It was simpler. It was also invisible. Vanessa's life had improved immediately. She'd stopped stressing about money, started posting more on Instagram brunches, weekend trips, new clothes. Her social life had exploded. Mine had contracted. I'd been sending her $1,340 every month. I'd stopped going out with coworkers. Started meal prepping aggressively. Drove my Honda Civic for another year despite the transmission starting to slip. Skipped my college roommate's destination bachelorette party because I couldn't afford the $800 trip, but I told myself it was temporary. Vanessa would get a better job, would pay me back, would appreciate the sacrifice. By late 2023, I'd been promoted again, lead data analyst, $104,000 salary. I'd started working with a mentor at work, Patricia, a VP of data strategy with 15 years of experience. She was brilliant, direct, and had taken an interest in developing my career. "You're talented," Patricia had told me after I'd presented a complex forecasting model to the executive team. "You could be doing my job in 5 years if you play it right." I'd also met Ethan in March 2024 at a professional networking event. He was a software engineer, quiet and thoughtful, with a dry sense of humor that caught me off guard in the best way. We'd been dating for 8 months now. He knew about Vanessa, knew about the payments. "Why do you keep doing it?" he'd asked one night over dinner. "Because she's my sister. Because if I stop, she'll lose her car. Her credit will be destroyed. It'll become this huge family crisis. Has she ever paid you back anything? She sent me $200 once, for my birthday." Ethan had just looked at me, not judging, but not agreeing either. I'd built a good life in Portland, a circle of friends from work who actually asked about my day, a running group that met Saturday mornings, an apartment I loved with a view of the mountains, a relationship with someone who saw me, really saw me. But every month, $1,340 left my account. Every month, I recalculated how long it would take to save for a down payment on a condo. Every month, the number got bigger, further away. I'd stopped going home for most holidays. Easter, I'd gone hiking with Ethan. 4th of July, camping with friends. My birthday, a nice dinner at a restaurant I'd been wanting to try. Thanksgiving was harder to skip. Mom's guilt was weaponized and precise. "It's Thanksgiving, Claire. Family is supposed to be together. What will everyone think if you're not here?" So I'd gone. In 2022, nobody had asked about my promotion. In 2023, nobody had mentioned the industry award I'd won. My life existed in a separate orbit from theirs, occasionally intersecting, never quite connecting. This year 2024, ID almost cancelled. Ethan had suggested staying in Portland, cooking together, watching football in our pajamas. But something had made me go. Maybe I needed to see it clearly one more time. Needed proof that I wasn't imagining the pattern. Needed confirmation that setting boundaries wasn't cruel, it was necessary. I'd gotten that confirmation when Vanessa called me selfish in front of 22 people. I left Aunt Susan's house at 8:47 p.m. Hugged the relatives who were still there. Thanked Aunt Susan for hosting. Avoided Vanessa, who was still on her phone in the kitchen with Tyler. The drive back to Portland took 4 hours. I listened to a podcast about setting boundaries, then switched to music, then drove in silence. My mind was quiet, clear, no guilt, no second guessing. Just a calm certainty that I'd made the right choice. I got home at 1:15 a.m. Ethan was asleep on my couch, having waited up for me before giving in to exhaustion. I kissed his forehead. "Estirre." "Hey," he mumbled. "How was it?" "Interesting. I'll tell you in the morning." He nodded, already drifting back to sleep. I changed into pajamas, washed my face, climbed into bed, slept better than I had in months. Friday morning, November 29th, my phone was on fire. 17 missed calls, 34 text messages. Vanessa had figured it out. Her first message, sent at 9:47 p.m. Thursday. "What did you do?" Then, at 10:02 p.m., my car payment got declined. My insurance got cancelled. "What the hell, Claire?" 10:15 p.m. "Call me right now." 10:47 p.m. "I know you're mad about what I said, but this is insane. You can't just cancel my bills." 11:23 p.m. "My Chase card got declined at dinner. Do you know how embarrassing that was? Tyler had to pay." "Call me." 2:34 a.m. "I can't sleep. I'm freaking out, please call me. We need to talk about this." There were also calls and messages from Mom, from Dad, from Aunt Susan, somehow. I made coffee, read through all the messages, felt nothing but relief. At 9 a.m., I called my financial advisor, Martin. He was expecting my call. I'd scheduled it Monday specifically to discuss the situation. "Claire," he said warmly, "how did Thanksgiving go?" "Exactly as expected. I need to talk about the payments I've been making to my sister. The $1,340 monthly? Yes. I canceled them Thursday night. I want to make sure I'm protecting myself legally and financially. Smart. Walk me through the situation. I explained everything. The 5 years of payments. The $47,200 in debt I'd been servicing. Vanessa's public accusation. My decision to stop. Here's what you need to know. Martin said. Those were gifts, legally speaking. You have no obligation to continue them. Your sister has no legal claim to your continued support. The creditors will go after her, not you. What if she claims I promised to keep paying? Do you have any written agreements? No. Everything was verbal. Then there's nothing binding. You're completely clear legally. My advice: document everything. Save all text messages. Keep records of every payment you made. If this escalates, you want proof of your generosity, not evidence of obligation. It won't escalate legally, I said. Vanessa won't want anyone to know she's been dependent on me. Even better. Claire, can I speak frankly, please? I've watched your finances for 3 years. You're disciplined, smart, and you save aggressively, but those payments to your sister have cost you significantly. If you'd been investing that $1,340 monthly for the past 5 years, you'd have approximately $95,000 in additional wealth right now, assuming conservative returns. I felt the number hit me physically. You've given her over $80,000 total, Martin continued. You've delayed your own financial goals: home ownership, retirement savings, emergency fund growth to support someone who apparently doesn't appreciate it. Stopping these payments isn't cruel. It's financial survival. We talked for another 20 minutes. He helped me set up a new savings plan, rerouting the $1,340 to a high-yield investment account. In 5 years, he said, this money will work for you instead of disappearing. After we hung up, I finally called Vanessa. She answered on the first ring. What the hell, Claire? Hi, Vanessa. Don't hi, Vanessa me. You canceled my bills. My car payment. Do you know what happens if I miss a lease payment? Hi, Vanessa. Yes, I've been making that payment for 61 months. I know exactly what happens. Silence. I was mad, Vanessa said finally. I said something stupid. I didn't mean it. You meant it. You called me selfish and cheap in front of the entire family. You said I never help, that I hoard my money, that I'm not there for family. I was drunk. You were sober enough to watch my face when you said it, sober enough to gather the table's support before you made your point. Claire, please. I'm sorry. I'll apologize in front of everyone. Just Please put the payments back. I can't lose my car. My insurance already lapsed. I can't legally drive right now. Then I guess you should figure out how to pay for insurance. With what money? Her voice rose. Panicked now. My entire paycheck goes to rent and food and student loans. You know this. You've known this for 5 years. I do know. I know that your $48,000 salary somehow doesn't cover your expenses. I also know that in those 5 years, you've taken trips to Miami, Nashville, and Mexico. You've bought designer boots and handbags. You go out to dinner 4 times a week based on your Instagram. I have to network. It's part of my job. Then your job should pay you enough to cover your actual expenses. That's not fair. What's not fair? I said, my voice still calm, is that I've given you $81,740 over the past 61 months, and you thanked me by calling me selfish at Thanksgiving dinner. Another silence. Longer this time. How much? Vanessa's voice was small. $81,740. Car payment, $427 monthly. Insurance, $238 monthly. Credit card minimums, $675 monthly. For 61 months, I didn't realize it was that much. I have a spreadsheet. Every payment. Every date. Every confirmation number. Claire, I'll pay you back. I swear. Just please. Turn the payments back on. My credit cards are maxed out. The late fees are going to destroy me. You've been saying you'll pay me back for 5 years. You've paid me back $200 total. One birthday gift. I didn't have the money, but you had money for Louboutin boots. I could hear her crying now. Real tears, not manipulation tears. There was a difference. What do you want me to do? She asked. Figure it out. Sell the boots. Get a roommate. Return to your credit card companies. Take a second job. Do what the rest of us do when we can't afford our lifestyle. I can't believe you're doing this. I can't believe it took me 5 years to stop. I hung up. Within minutes, Mom called, Claire, Elizabeth. What is going on? Hi, Mom. Vanessa just called me sobbing. She said you canceled all her bills, that you've been paying them for years and suddenly stopped without warning. I stopped after she called me selfish and cheap at Thanksgiving, in front of everyone, while I've been giving her $1,340 every single month for 5 years. 5 years? She said a few months. 61 months. I started in November 2019. Why didn't you tell us? Vanessa asked me not to. She said it was embarrassing. She said it was private between sisters. Mom was quiet for a moment. How much have you given her? $81,740. That can't be right. I have documentation. Every payment. I can send you the spreadsheet if you'd like. Claire, ... Why would you do that? Because she's my sister. Because she was struggling. Because I thought I was helping family. But that's so much money. Yes, it is. And yesterday she told 22 people that I'm selfish with my money, that I never help family. Everyone agreed with her. She was upset. She was fine, Mom. She was showing off, making herself look good by making me look bad, using the money I've been giving her to fund a lifestyle that makes me look cheap by comparison. She didn't mean it like that. Yes, she did, and I'm done pretending otherwise. Dad got on the line. Claire, you need to think about what you're doing. Your sister needs help. I helped her for 5 years, Dad. 5 years of payments that delayed my own goals, my own life, my own financial stability. And you know what? Nobody noticed. Nobody thanked me. Nobody even knew, because Vanessa asked me to keep it secret. So this is about recognition? Dad asked. You want us to thank you? No. This is about boundaries. This is about not being an ATM for someone who calls me selfish. This is about me deciding what I do with my money, which is apparently something Vanessa thinks I'm not entitled to do. She's family, Mom said. So am I said, but somehow, my financial stability doesn't matter as much as hers. I could hear them whispering to each other. What if we help her? Mom said. Your father and I could take over some of the payments until she gets on her feet. That's between you and Vanessa. I'm out, Claire. Don't be dramatic. I'm not being dramatic. I'm setting a boundary. I'm taking care of myself. That's not dramatic. That's overdue. When did you become so cold? Dad asked. That one stung, but I kept my voice steady. I'm not cold. I'm done. There's a difference. I hung up. Saturday brought more messages. Sunday brought Aunt Susan, who'd apparently heard the story and wanted to mediate. Monday brought Vanessa showing up at my apartment. I didn't answer the door. Tuesday, my therapist, Dr. Reed, confirmed everything I already knew. I'd been seeing Dr. Reed since August for work stress, but our sessions had quickly evolved into family dynamics therapy. What you're describing is systematic financial exploitation, Dr. Reed said on Tuesday, December 3rd. Your sister created a dependency on your support, hid it from your family to protect her image, and then scapegoated you when you had legitimate success to celebrate. My family thinks I'm punishing her for one comment. You're setting a boundary after 5 years of being taken advantage of. Those are different things. Should I feel guilty? Do you? I thought about it carefully. No. I feel lighter, like I've been carrying something heavy and finally put it down. That's clarity. Dr. Reed said, "Your guilt response has been trained into you by years of being told that saying no is selfish. But saying no to continued exploitation isn't selfish, it's self-preservation." My dad said, "I've become cold. You've become bound. People who benefit from your lack of boundaries will often criticize you when you develop them. They'll call you cold, or selfish, or dramatic. It's a form of manipulation designed to make you resume your previous role. Will my family come around? Maybe. Maybe not. But the real question is, are you willing to maintain these boundaries even if they do you UNT? I thought about my life in Portland, my job, my friends, Ethan, my apartment, the life I'd built independent of my family's approval. "Yes," I said, "I am." December 7th, exactly 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, Vanessa showed up at my office. She'd figured out where I worked, probably from LinkedIn, and was waiting in the lobby when I came back from lunch. She looked terrible. No makeup, hair in a messy bun, wearing jeans and an oversized sweater instead of her usual carefully curated outfits. "Claire," she said, standing up, "please, we need to talk." "How did you get here?" "Tyler drove me. My car got repossessed on Monday." I felt a flash of something sympathy. Maybe, or just old programming, but I pushed it away. "You can't just show up at my office, Vanessa. You won't return my calls. You blocked my texts. What was I supposed to do? Respect my boundaries." She laughed bitterly. "Boundaries? This is about boundaries?" "Yes." We stood in my office lobby, other employees walking past, pretending not to stare. "Can we go somewhere private?" Vanessa asked. Against my better judgment, I led her to a conference room. Class was not truly private, but isolated enough for conversation. We sat across from each other. The table felt enormous between us. "I lost my car," Vanessa said. "My insurance has been lapsed for 2 weeks, so even when I get another car, I can't legally drive it. My credit cards are maxed. The late fees and interest are compounding daily. I'm drowning, Claire. I'm sorry you're going through that." "Are you? Because you caused it." "No. You caused it. I just stopped enabling it." "Enabling. Primera need. It. Help." "You were helping me?" That's what family does. Family doesn't publicly humiliate each other at Thanksgiving dinner. Vanessa looked away. "I was drunk. I told you you weren't that drunk. And even if you were, drunk words are sober thoughts. You think I'm selfish. You think I don't help. You've probably thought that for years. Because you make it seem so easy." Vanessa burst out, "You have this great job, this nice apartment, your perfect boyfriend. You talk about your career like it's so important. And yeah, maybe I resented it. Maybe I was jealous. So you took my money and called me cheap. I didn't think of it as your money. I thought of it as, I don't know, helping, like you were supposed to. Supposed to. You're good at money. Numbers. That stuff. I'm not. I thought we had an arrangement where you handled that part and I handled, I don't know, being the fun one, the social one." I stared at her. "You thought we had an arrangement where I paid your bills and you got to be the favorite." "That's not what I meant." "That's exactly what you meant. You've built your entire lifestyle on my income, and you thought that was fair because you're better at being likable." Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. "I messed up. I know I messed up. But Claire, I need your help. I'm going to lose my apartment. I can't pay my rent. Tyler and I broke up. He said I am financially irresponsible and he co-build a life with someone who doesn't have their act together. Maybe Tyler has a point. How can you be so cruel?" "I'm not being cruel. I'm being honest. For 5 years, I enabled you to live beyond your means. I made it possible for you to pretend you were successful when you were actually buried in debt. I did you a disservice? A disservice? You helped me. I helped you avoid consequences. I helped you avoid budgeting, downsizing, making hard choices. And all of that helped you become even more dependent on me. That's not helping. That's hurting. So this is for my own good? Vanessa's voice dripped with sarcasm. Actually, yes. You're 28 years old. You need to figure out how to live within your means. If that means getting a roommate, selling your stuff, working a second job, then that's what you need to do. I can't do this alone. Yes, you can. You just don't want to. Vanessa stood up abruptly. I thought you were better than this. I thought you actually cared about me. I do care about you. That's why I'm not enabling you anymore. You're punishing me! You're bitter and jealous that I'm more likable, more fun, more popular. So you're using money to control me. I never controlled you. I gave you complete freedom to live your life while I paid for it. The only control I'm exercising now is over my own bank account. No, I will never forgive you for this, Vanessa said. That's okay. I'm not doing this for forgiveness. She left the conference room, slamming the glass door hard enough that 3 of my coworkers looked up from their desks. I sat there for a few minutes, waiting for guilt to arrive. It didn't. Patricia found me 10 minutes later, still sitting in the conference room. You okay? She asked. Yeah. Family stuff. I saw. Want to talk about it? I explained the situation, not every detail, but enough. Patricia listened without interrupting. Can I tell you something? Patricia said. When I finished, I had a similar situation with my brother. For 3 years, I paid his rent because he couldn't find work in his field. He was a photographer, very artistic, very irresponsible. What happened? I stopped paying. He lost his apartment, moved in with friends, had to take a job at Starbucks to make ends meet. Hated every minute of it. Did he ever forgive you? Took him 2 years. But you know what? He's now a successful photographer with his own studio. He manages his money. He built a real career. And he told me last year that stopping the payments was the best thing I ever did for him, even though he hated me for it at the time. My sister's not there yet. She might not get there, but that's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to yourself. Patricia left and I went back to work. Finished a report on Q4 projections. Had a meeting about the March conference where I'd be presenting. Checked in with my team about year-end deadlines. At 5:30 p.m., Ethan texted, "Dinner at my place. I'm making that pasta you like." I smiled. Packed up my stuff. Drove to his apartment. We cooked together. His kitchen warm and filled with the smell of garlic and herbs. He told me about his day, a coding problem he'd solved, a funny interaction with his boss. I told him about Vanessa showing up. How do you feel? He asked, tired. But okay. Good. He kissed me. You're doing the right thing. How do you know? Because you're protecting yourself. Because you're choosing your own well-being, because you're refusing to be treated like an ATM. All of that is right. We ate dinner on his couch, watching a documentary about deep-sea creatures. His arm was around me. I felt safe. My phone buzzed once. A text from Mom. Your father and I are very disappointed in you. I deleted it without responding. 10 months later, October 2025. Ethan and I stood on a rooftop in Barcelona, watching the sunset paint Godia Sagrada Familia in shades of orange and gold. We'd been in Spain for 6 days, for More Togo, a full 10-day vacation, something I'd dreamed about but never thought I could afford. I could afford it now. After I'd stopped paying Vanessa's bills, I'd rerouted that $1,340 monthly into a high-yield investment account, just like Martin had suggested. 10 months of investing plus aggressive saving had put $17,800 into the account. Combined with other savings, I debuilt my emergency fund to a full 6 months of expenses and had started seriously planning to buy a condo. More importantly, I'd paid off my student loans completely in July. After 89 months of payments, I was debt-free. You're smiling, Ethan said, pulling me closer. I'm happy, I said. Really happy. Good. You deserve it. We'd moved in together in June, a 2-bedroom apartment with a balcony and a view of the city. Split everything equally. Built a life that was truly partnership, not dependency. I'd been promoted again in August principal data analyst, leading a team of 6 with a salary of $118,000. I'd presented at the March conference to a packed room of 300 people, and my session on predictive modeling had been rated the highest of the entire event. 2 companies had tried to recruit me afterward. I'd stayed with my current company, Patricia was still mentoring me. The work was meaningful, and the trajectory was clear. My life in Portland had deepened in ways I hadn't expected. My running group had become close friends. We did a half marathon together in May. My book club had expanded to include monthly dinners. Patricia had introduced me to a women's leadership group for tech professionals that met quarterly. Ethan's family had fully adopted me. His mom texted me recipes. His dad had helped me negotiate my car purchase when my Honda Civic finally died. I bought a 3-year-old Mazda, practical and efficient, paid for in cash. His sister had asked me to be a bridesmaid in her wedding next spring. Have you heard from your family? Ethan asked carefully, the way he always did. Not since June. The silence had been complete. No calls. No texts. No holiday invitations. I'd heard through Aunt Susan, who still emailed occasionally, that Vanessa had moved back in with Mom and Dad in April. She'd lost her apartment, quit her marketing job, and was working retail while figuring things out. Tyler had indeed broken up with her, and she'd apparently spiraled for months. Mom and Dad had taken over some of her bills, but not all of them. Vanessa's credit score was destroyed. She'd had to file for bankruptcy in July. How do you feel about that? Ethan asked. Sad? But not guilty. That's healthy. I can't control her choices. I can only control mine, and my choice is to protect myself. We watched the sun sink lower, the city lights starting to twinkle across Barcelona. Dr. Reed says my family might never understand, I said, that some families can't accept boundaries, can't accept that love doesn't mean unlimited financial support. Do you need them to understand? I thought about it. Really thought about it. No, I said, I needed them to understand when I was younger, when I was still trying to earn their approval. But I don't need that anymore. I have people who show up for me. You, Patricia, my friends, people who see me as more than a source of money. Damn right, Ethan said. My phone buzzed. A text from Patricia. Team absolutely crushed the Q3 presentation. You've trained them so well. Enjoy Spain. I smiled and put my phone away. Work? Ethan asked. Just Patricia being amazing. She's good people. The best. We stayed on that rooftop until the stars came out, then walked through the Gothic Quarter. Got tapas at a tiny restaurant Patricia had recommended. Drank Spanish wine that tasted like sunlight. The next morning, I woke up to an unexpected email. Melissa de Reque's ex-fiancé, from the story I'd read about months ago, the one who'd also been caught in a web of family financial dysfunction. Wait. No. That was a different story. My own story. An unexpected email from Aunt Linda. Actually, Claire, I've been thinking a lot about last Thanksgiving. About what Vanessa said, and I realized something uncomfortable. I've asked you for money too. Small amounts. $200 here. $150 there. Birthday gifts that I said I'd pay you back for, but never did. I went through my records. I owe you $890. I'm sending you a check. I'm sorry, I didn't see what was happening. You're not selfish. You're the most generous person in our family, and we've all taken advantage of that. The check arrived at my Portland address a week later. $890, just like she'd said. I deposited it. Added it to my condo fund. Aunt Linda texted, I talked to your mom. Told her she owes you an apology. I don't know if she'll ever give it to you, but you deserve one. Mom never apologized. November 2025, 1 year after Thanksgiving. Ethan and I hosted our own Thanksgiving. 12 people, friends from work, the running group, his sister, and her fiancé, Patricia, and her husband. Primera ma, the turkey stuffing, roasted vegetables, and yes, pumpkin cheesecake. Everyone brought sides and wine. The apartment was loud and warm and filled with laughter. To Claire, Patricia said, raising her glass. Who taught me this year that boundaries aren't selfish, they're self-respect? Everyone clinked glasses. I felt tears in my eyes. But they were happy tears. Speech. Someone called out. No speech, I said, laughing. Just thank you. For being here. For being people who show up. Shortest speech ever, Ethan said, kissing my cheek. The dinner lasted until midnight. Everyone helped clean up, loading the dishwasher, storing leftovers, wiping counters. This was family, I realized. Not blood, not obligation, not transactional relationships disguised as love, just people who chose each other, wasoweda, who valued each other's presence more than their bank accounts. After everyone left, Ethan and I collapsed on the couch. That was perfect, he said. That was everything. Your family doesn't know what they're missing. Their loss, I said, and I meant it. My phone sat silent on the coffee table. No guilt trips. No demands. No crises requiring my immediate financial intervention. Just peace. My savings account had $28,400 in it. I'd given Vanessa $81,740 over 61 months. I didn't regret stopping. Not for a second. Because I'd learned something essential. You can't help people who won't help themselves. You can't save people who aren't drowning, who are just comfortable letting you do all the swimming. And you can't build your life around making yourself smaller so someone else can feel bigger. The next morning, I woke up to a text from an unknown number. Hi Claire. This is Vanessa. I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry for what I said at Thanksgiving. For how I used you for all of Italiano. I'm in therapy now, living with mom and dad, working retail and actually budgeting. It sucks, but I'm learning. You were right to stop the payments. I hate that you were right, but you were. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know that I'm finally understanding what you tried to teach me. Thank you for that. Even though it hurt. I read the message 3 times. Ethan stirred next to me. Everything okay? Yeah, I said. I think it finally is. I didn't respond to Vanessa's text immediately. Maybe I would eventually. Maybe we'd rebuild some kind of relationship. Something healthier. Something balanced. Or maybe we wouldn't. Either way, I was okay. I got up, made coffee, looked out at the Portland skyline from our balcony. Ethan joined me, handing me my favorite mug. What are you thinking about? He asked. How far I've come. How different my life is now. Different, better, different, honest, I said. I'm not performing anymore. Not trying to earn love by emptying my bank account. Not making myself invisible so someone else can shine. Just ... living. Honestly, authentically. I love you, Ethan said. I love you too. We stood there in the morning light, drinking coffee, planning our Saturday a run with the group, brunch with friends, maybe a movie later. A normal Saturday, a perfect Saturday. My phone stayed on the counter, silent and peaceful. I'd given Vanessa 5 years of my life, over $80,000, and countless hours of worry. She'd given me a painful but necessary lesson. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is stop helping. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is choose yourself. Chose myself. And everything changed.